All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We'll go ahead and get started with our presentation. All right, so today's discussion is on the Willamette Water Supply Project, the water treatment plant, and we're going to be discussing specifically the process equipment supply. As we get started here today, I want to ask everyone to please mute your line so that the audio comes through good so that everyone can hear. If you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat, or if you'd like to save those to the end, we'll open it up for question period. All right. Again, my name is David Fagerstrom, the Senior Project Manager on this project. Also working with me on this project with me today is Mike Nair. Another gentleman that's working with us is Jared Wagner, who will not be on the call today, but you may have talked with him through some of the pre-con efforts. We've also got Matthew Girbins, who is the project manager for the Willamette Water Supply Program on the meeting today. And as I mentioned, please mute your line so that we have good audio. And if you wouldn't mind, please either email us your contact information or just go ahead and type it into the chat. And we'll do the same with our contact information so that you can reference it later. So we wanted to start with a quick introduction of who Sunt Construction is. Sunt was formed back in 1890, and today we are a 100% employee-owned company. Our headquarters is located in Tempe, Arizona. Throughout the years, Sunt has done work across pretty much the entire country. You can see on the map here, all the gray states are states that we have historically done work in. And the red states are those states that we are actively working or currently pursuing projects in. So you can see we have offices from Texas through the Southwest, California, and up into the Northwest. So our agenda for today, we're going to start out with a quick safety share, then walk through an overview of the project where we'll discuss the schedule, the bidding opportunities, dive into a little bit of the details on the instructions to bidders, our bid forms, and then we will discuss some of the specifics related to the process equipment procurement. That's the seismic design requirements, deferred design requirements, some other specifics related to Division 46, and then we'll open it up for questions. So one of the guiding principles of Sunt is to provide a safe job site. It's very important that our personnel, our subcontractors, and all of our partners go home at the end of the day the same way that they showed up to work in the morning. So in support of our safety culture, we like to start each meeting with a safety share. So today's safety share is on hard hats and innovation that has come with hard hats. Over the years, what we have found is that when you're working from heights, you're likely, and if you happen to fall or have an incident, you're likely to lose your hard hat during that fall. And when that happens, you have a higher risk of hitting your head on something. So what we have implemented for Sunt employees is the use of hard hats with chin straps. And what that does is that prevents your hard hat from falling off in those falls and allows them to protect you in case if you end up hitting something with your head. So in the image here, we have three different styles. On the left is what we're calling the rock climber hard hat. These are pretty innovative, lots of features. They have the chin strap built into them, and then you can see on this one that you can add like a safety shield, eye protection to the hard hat. Then the two on the middle one, and then the one on the right, those are your traditional baseball cap style or your full brim hard hat. Those you can buy those these days with the chin strap integrated, or you can purchase a aftermarket add-on to add that chin strap. As of right now, using the hard hats with chin straps is a requirement of SUNT personnel. We have not asked our subcontractors to fully implement this, but we strongly do encourage it because we think there's a huge benefit to adding the chin strap. All right, so quick overview of the project. So I just want to hit on the program highlights. The project is made up of the Willamette Water Supply Commission, which is a coordinated effort with the Tualatin Valley Water District, the City of Hillsborough, and the City of Beaverton. The overall program is worth about $1.3 billion, and it's made up of several projects. The first project is the raw water facility, which is down here, which pulls water off the Willamette River. Then you have a series of raw water pipelines that deliver the water to the north up to the water treatment plant site. Additional transmission lines that distribute the finished water, the potable water through the various cities and to the various turnoffs. And then there's also a reservoir site, which is somewhat like a terminal reservoir for storing additional water. The one thing to note on the water treatment plant is it is being delivered through the CMGC delivery method. That's construction manager, general contractor. What that means is SUNT was brought on board with the owner and engineer early in the design to help through constructability, value engineering, and provide various cost estimates and other deliverables throughout the pre-construction phase. Zooming in a little bit closer, wanted to show some highlights to the project location. The site is located in Sherwood on the southwest, basically the southwest corner of Tualatin Sherwood Road and southwest 124th Street. This site was strategically located. It is a greenfield site. It's heavily forested, which our site is here in the red box, and you can kind of tell from the aerial that nice green area covered in large trees. This here is just a zoomed in version showing the overlay of the site as it relates to the area here. One thing to note about the project is one of the important facets of it is it's being designed to be seismically resilient to withstand a major seismic event. And we'll talk about what that means for the process equipment a little bit later in the presentation. Just wanted to highlight a few additional project stats. This here is the site plan, and it covers about 23 acres. There's multiple treatment areas, which we'll describe in more detail a little bit later. It includes the administration building that's about 10,000 square feet. As with any other water treatment plant, there's a large quantity of concrete. We've got about 40,000 yards. There's a significant amount of earthwork, pushing almost 400,000 yards of material to move. And the next bullet that you see there is of most interest to you guys is the process equipment. There's somewhere between $20 and $24 million worth of process equipment, and that we're delivering through 26 bid packages. The site also has a 10 million gallon pre-stressed concrete reservoir for storing the finished water, has multiple pre-engineered metal buildings, and this job provides multiple building trade opportunities. All right, so quickly want to look at the project schedule. This slide that we have here is a basic graph showing kind of the progression of the construction and the project schedule. We'll be going out to bid here in a few weeks, and what that means is we will get through the bid process, finalize the GMP, and execute a notice to proceed so that we can start construction beginning of next year. As probably the priority for you guys, the process, mechanical, and equipment. You can see this work doesn't start till 2023. So we're going to utilize this period up front here to get through the entire submittal process and the seismic qualifications. Mechanical work will be going on through most of 2024, and we'll start startup and commissioning activities end of the first quarter, beginning of second quarter 2024, with the goal of achieving plant startup in March of 2025. Bid schedule and bid opportunities. So this project is being delivered in 2 GMPs. The first GMP is what we're going to advertise in a couple of weeks. That's GMP 1. Advertisement will go out on September 24th. We'll hold a pre-bid meeting on October 6th. The RFI deadline will be a couple weeks later on October 21st. Final addenda issued by SUNT October 29th, and then bids will be due November 4th. GMP 2 will not advertise until sometime in early 2023, and then we'll follow the same some of the same schedule with the pre-bid meetings, RFI deadlines, and so forth. Have a note here in red that if you happen to participate in the first meeting that we held or happen to watch the video, you may remember that we showed 3 GMPs with a different deliverable schedule. So I just want to highlight that this is a change from that original one, and this is the official bid schedule. And I'll go into what's encompassed in GMP 1 and GMP 2 in a little bit. So again, projects being delivered with multiple GMPs, guaranteed maximum price opportunities. In total, we have more than 70 bid packages or work categories. As I mentioned earlier, there's 26 various process equipment packages. Every single work category or bid package has a defined scope of work that includes the process equipment. The selection for the majority of these 70 work categories is through a low bid, most responsive selection. Real quickly, I just want to kind of show you a breakdown of the project costs. This is pretty much all of your CSI categories. Some of the major ones are your electrical, earthwork, and concrete, and process mechanical. And you can see here our process equipment is covered by Division 43 and Division 46. And so that's where we're coming up with the 20 to 24 million for these packages. All right, so GMP 1 bid packages. GMP 1 encompasses, for the most part, the majority of the project. It's going to have all your earthwork, site work, or excuse me, your earthwork, your yard piping, your structural concrete, all of your building trades, your process mechanical, your HVAC, plumbing, and also your process equipment. GMP 2 will encompass your site finishes, which is your asphalt, sidewalk, curb, gutter, landscaping, things of that nature. So looking specifically at the procurement or the bid packages for the process equipment, we've got them itemized on the table here. And there's quite a bit of information in this table that I just wanted to highlight a few things. Again, all the process equipment is being procured in this GMP. You'll see when you get our bid packages that we will include boilerplate language or our boilerplates for our subcontract agreement and our purchase orders. All the process equipment, the contracting mechanism will be our purchase order. Again, it will be a low bid, most responsive type of selection. One thing to note here on the process equipment, we've got 3 items that are shown in early procurement. That's the ballasted flock, the UV disinfection system, and the dewatering screw presses. Those were selected early on in the pre-construction phase. So those vendors are selected, have provided preliminary submittals, and have been incorporated into the design. All right, so instructions to bidders, hand it over to Mike to take it from here.
All right, cool. Thanks, Dave. All right, so I just want to kind of go over what you should be expecting come bid day on the 24th. We will have all the documents, so the contract specs and drawings, as well as all these documents we have listed here: instructions to bidders, detailed scopes of work, bid forms, exhibits, attachments, schedule, drawings and specifications, geotechnical reports, and then other supplemental information such as site logistics plans, startup and commissioning plans. We'll have all those uploaded and available. Those will be in, we're utilizing SmartBid software as our the software of choice for sharing all this information. One of the reasons why we're utilizing SmartBid is due to the nature of this this project is we are requiring that everyone sign a non-disclosure agreement. So SmartBid allows us to be able to do that electronically. So we will make sure, again, get us your information either in the chat box or send us a direct email. So that way we can make sure you get into SmartBid and you guys will get all this information sent to you via SmartBid on the 24th. Just want to go to the next page. All right, so kind of talk about instructions to bidders. The purpose of the instructions to bidders is really just to be prescriptive to you all, to all the bidders, to be clear of what we're expecting of you to provide, but also key milestones, submittal dates. So for example, we'll be going to advertise on the 24th of September. And then we're going to have our pre-bid kickoff meeting on October 6th. And then we'll have an RFI cutoff date on the 21st of October, and addenda cutoff date on the 29th of October, and then ultimately leading to the bid due date of November 4th. So all that information will be shared in the instructions to bidders, as well as in SmartBid. When you first log into SmartBid, you'll see all the information right there. A couple other items to note regarding the instructions to bidders. We'll go over, what's required for insurance, and then also the bidding documents that are required. I think one kind of keynote before we go off this page is this project is accepting federal funds through the WIFIA program, which requires a couple items. So if you're performing work on site, it requires that you abide by the Davis-Bacon wage rate system, as well as this is an AIS, or American Iron and Steel requirement that would be most pertinent to you all providing material and equipment for this project.
Yeah, one more thing to note on that is there are exemptions for process equipment, and I'm assuming that most of you have worked with that and understand what's required there. But if you have any follow-up questions on that, feel free to reach out to us and we can help guide you to what those exceptions are.
Yep. And another item too on the instructions to bidders, I kind of skipped over earlier, is discussing about substitutions. So the specs, most of the specs do have specific brands, makes, and models that have been called out, but quite a few of them do allow for or equals. So in those instances, we are asking that you all provide any information regarding your proposed substitution, so we can then be able to take that into account when we look at pricing and the overall package of what you're providing to us. All right, so attachments and exhibits. So again, this is information that'll be provided to all of you at bid time. I'm not going to go through all of these in depth. If you want to know more about each of these items, we'll go through this in depth at the pre-bid kickoff meeting on October 6th, or you can be able to go back to our Reliable website and go to the very first recorded presentation where we actually went through each of these items. But one thing that I think that's important to point out is all of the exhibits will be included in the contracts. So these will be attachments to the purchase orders, purchase orders and subcontracts. Attachments will not be included in the contracts. All right, so going over the bid forms. So, in order to be able to keep everyone aligned to what they're bidding, and then also how the information comes to us, so we can be able to do proper comparison between all the contractors and vendors. We're providing we've created bid forms that are unique for each work category. And we ask that you utilize these bid forms to convey what your cost is. Then again, also any substitutions you may have, and any other pertinent information regarding the bid. So any exclusions that you may have, or issues that you may have with T's and C's of the boilerplate contracts, you can let us know there on this bid form, and we can take that into consideration. So we'll go ahead and just show you guys show you all a just a second. We're gonna try to. All right, there we go. So we're going to open up one of the bid forms here so we can be able to share it with you, and you can kind of see what it entails. So we'll go to the top here. So each bid form will be explicit. As you can see there, the very top of the page there is the name, but right below the name is the bid package. So each bid package, depending on which type of equipment you're submitting a price on, will have its own individual form, and in that bid package will have what equipment you're bidding on. And then, as you scroll down, we have bidders, just bidder information. We have contract review confirmation, basically that you guys have reviewed our sample purchase order or subcontract, and that you all understand it. And again, if you have any issues, that you provide a red line copy of that agreement to us, so we can be able to take that into consideration of any markups that you have to our boilerplate document. Going through the scope of work, again, just kind of talking about that you guys have acknowledged all of the addendum that have been issued. And then also down to the bid price, and then kind of a breakdown of what that bid is. And the reason why we ask for this information is that way we can be able to do an apples to apples comparison between all the bidders. To be able to make sure that all bidders have included the entirety of the scope that's expected, but also so that we can be able to do some side-by-side comparisons to be able to make sure that, again, if you're providing a substitution, we can be able to say, okay, what's that cost benefit of going with the substitution, and the owner's able to do an educated assessment of taking a substitution in lieu of what's been spec'd. Unit pricing, really don't see how that's going to really be play into account in here, but if there's any unit prices associated with a scope of work, we'll detail there very specific of what that unit price is for you to give us a price on it. Also, alternates. There are contract alternates that are clearly indicated in the documents. And the documents also, the instructions to bidders as well as the specifications do list out exact descriptions of each alternate and how it affects your pricing of these alternates. So we'll go through those again in much more greater detail at the pre-bid kickoff meeting. Item 3.4.2, voluntary bid alternates. This is a great opportunity for if you are recommending either a different type of equipment, or you are maybe if your equipment has a VFD that comes with it, and our specification calls out a specific make and model, but maybe you have a different VFD that you would like to provide, that you feel that works compatible with what the project documentation is. This would be a great opportunity for you to be able to apply what that alternate would be, so we can take that into consideration. Escalation. This is a hot topic nowadays. I'm sure you all are dealing with this day in and day out. And we want to address this pointedly here, is that we acknowledge the constant changing of our environment right now on prices. And we recognize that. And so we are asking that all bids are held for 150 days. But with that said, we are also allowing the ability to be able to recover escalation changes that happen from the point of bid up to 150 days. So basically during the hold period that we're asking you to hold your bid for, we're allowing an opportunity to be able to recover potential escalation depending on what the PPI or CPI is doing during that period of time. And again, we'll go into much further detail on that at the pre-bid kickoff meeting. And then item number 4 is just minority women, disability, veteran-owned participation. We just want to know, how much of your firm or your secondary providers, what percentage those are. We do not have a stated goal or objective on this job, but we do want to keep track of those percentages. And then acknowledgements. We just have a list here. We just want to make sure that you all have read the exhibits, that you guys have read the instructions to bidders, that you have a firm understanding of these documents. So that way there's no, this is basically really a checklist for you all to make sure that you all have received them, you have reviewed them, and you understand what's being asked of you at bid time. And then clarifications, these are just a few items here where it gives you the opportunity to be able to provide some clarifications, inclusions, exclusions, or assumptions that your bid is based on, so we can be able to take those under consideration. And then obviously, with you all providing equipment, some of the big things that we need to be able to take into account for our scheduling purposes is your lead time for submittals and shop drawings, as well as fabrication and delivery times. We ask that you all state that there. And then last but not least, at the end, just your John Hancock stating, John or Jane Hancock stating that that you've agreed to the numbers that you're putting on there, and just that's really the end of the form.
Yep, just final certification of your bid.
Yep.
Okay, now we wanted to talk a little bit about the seismic design requirements, and I briefly mentioned this at the beginning. This project has some pretty specific seismic qualification requirements and objectives. The plant wants to have the ability to be back in operation within 24 hours of a potential seismic event. And so a lot of our specifications have been written around verifying that qualification or that certification of being able to meet that. And specifically, it's called out in Division 1 in the 01-8829 seismic qualification specification. And the notes that I've got on this slide were taken specifically from that document. And basically, it says that we're going to verify seismic qualifications through various methods. And the spec even lists out some tables of the components that need to comply. And that's what I've copied into the spreadsheet here. So you can see there's electrical type of items, the generators, valves, other electrical gear components, and then a lot of your process equipment, your pumps, chemical pumps, vertical turbine pumps, hydropneumatic surge tanks, FRP tanks, carbon dioxide system, the ozone system, the gravity thickeners. So it encompasses pretty much all of the process equipment. And all of this is detailed out in the spec, but there are 3 ways to achieve seismic qualification. Those 3 methods are through analysis, which that's your standard desk calculations. Second method is through testing, and that is physically taking the piece of equipment and sending it to a lab where they put it on a shake table test for a period of time and observe the results of being on that shaker table test. The last method is through experience, and what that means is if you have had similar equipment go through an actual seismic event of similar magnitude and duration. Those three methods will be considered for the seismic qualification. The last note that I have here was again taken from the spec, and it states that the use of qualification analysis method for active parts or energized components of special certification components that are active mechanical and electrical equipment is not permitted. So what that means is basically the process equipment, you cannot use analysis only for determining seismic certification. You needed to use a combination of two methods. So when you receive our bid documents, I ask that you pay special attention to this spec because this is a contract requirement. I know when we talk about seismic calculations or seismic qualification on other jobs, oftentimes it's interpreted to just mean calculations for the anchor bolts. This is much more involved in this, so we want you to spend some time going through this spec, and if you have any questions on it, you need to please bring those up so we can help you address those. For design, another component of the project is there's certain portions that are deferred design. Certain process equipment specs require additional engineering required of the vendor. These are calculations stamped and sealed by a PE license in the state of Oregon. This is just a partial list of what components require deferred design. But those, again, are also listed in your individual specs. So we want you to pay special attention to those as well. All right, so wanted to quickly walk you through the treatment process so you can get an idea of what sort of process equipment we will have in the project. So this image right here, this 3D image is of what we're calling the process building. This is where the primary treatment processes are. So I was just going to quickly walk through them. I'll start over here in the left-hand side, area 22. This is the ballasted flock system. As I mentioned on one of those earlier slides with the table, the ballasted flock equipment was pre-selected, so that can be incorporated into the design. But we have the ozone generator and contactors. Your typical ozone generation equipment is included within this portion of the process facility. You have your filters. So that includes your filtered media, your underdrain, your wash water troughs, that type of equipment. From there, the water makes its way over to this corner of the building, which is the UV disinfection. The UV and disinfection, it's a closed vessel system. This is another system that was pre-selected, so it can be incorporated into the design. In addition, we have the chemical addition associated with the project. We have a main chemical facility, which this is an indoor facility, includes chemical dosing equipment, chemical storage. We've also got the outdoor chemical area. This is where your carbon dioxide system sits. I went through this kind of quick, but you can kind of get the idea of what the process systems are. There's various pumping systems throughout to complement the main treatment components. Moving to the north end of the plant, we have here in the bottom left, this is the EQ overflow basin. The equipment associated with this facility is there's some pumping equipment down here on the ends of the basins. We've got gates on this structure as well. In addition to this structure, there's gates in other parts of the project. We've got actually quite a few gates. There's that over here in the top portion of this picture. This is our finished water pump station. that houses the finished water and backwash water pumps, the vertical turbine pumps. We have the hydropneumatic surge tanks. This small structure right here is basically like a splitter box, which has more gates. And then this facility right here is the equipment storage building, which is basically just a kind of like a maintenance storage area. So there's no real process equipment in that building. Moving over to the solid side, the project has 2 gravity thickeners. So that's got your like your circular clarifier type of equipment. We've got the thickened solids pump station and the thickened solids handling and the solids dewatering. There are several pumping systems associated with these facilities that will pump and convey the water between the various facilities and processes into the solids dewatering, which houses the screw press and a polymer system. The screw press is another component that was pre-selected, but the polymer system is part of these bid documents. All right, so when it comes to the supply of the process equipment, we have developed a written scope of work, which falls in line with the requirements of each individual specification. So in that written scope of work, we try to capture all the requirements of the specification, but we also want to turn your attention to the drawings and specifically the P&ID drawings. As you typically see on jobs, our drawings identify with dash boxes the limits of supply for various components. So we want you to pay attention to that, so that when the P&ID says that, you know, these valves or these instrumentation devices are within this box and are, in this case, expected to be furnished by the ozone system supplier, that those are included in your scope. So we've tried to cross-reference those to give an accurate, clear representation of what is required. But again, we ask that you also pay attention to those details as well. Just wanted to walk through a few components of the specifications that I'm sure you're used to seeing. This job is no different. So the first one is source testing. This is like your factory tests. Some of the various equipment specs require those. And like you've probably seen on most jobs, we do require that when those factory tests are done, that advance notice is provided before the potential of witnessing those tests, and then test results need to be submitted and approved by the engineer prior to shipment of the equipment. As with any job, we've also got the field testing. That's where you'll send your representatives on site to verify the contractor has installed the equipment properly, to your manufacturer's field services, ultimately to obtain the certificate of proper installation. Our documents also spell out operator training requirements. You'll need to note that training requirements are identified in the process equipment spec and in the Division 1 requirements. We'll also require O&M manuals. They'll be required to be submitted in a particular format and then submitted and approved prior to operation of the equipment. Several of the equipment components require spare parts or maintenance materials. We're asking that those be shipped separately in weather-tight packaging to protect those. Next component is warranty. The documents spell out the warranty requirements, and it's important to note that warranty is to commence from the date of substantial completion. So we want you to pay special attention to that so that your warranty documents comply with the project requirements. Then last item was something that Mike brought up a little bit earlier. That's your or equals. When required, those or equals need to be submitted and approved prior to being allowed to be incorporated into the project. So that's brings us to the end of the information on the process equipment. We just wanted to highlight um, uh, some of the meetings that we have had to put the project out there and provide project information that may be important to you. This is the schedule of all the various meetings that we've had. We've covered a lot of the same basic general information in each of these presentations, but then specialized and tailored portions of them to the particular division. So if you have a desire to see any of the other trades or other scopes, you can go to the Our Reliable Water website and view those for your information. All right, so we've covered a lot of information, went through some of it somewhat quickly, but we just wanted to provide a general overview of the bid process and how we're going about procuring this project. A lot of the information that we covered today is what you would typically see at a pre-bid meeting. Again, this is not the official pre-bid. This is just a early advertisement informational session so that you are aware of what is upcoming and can prepare your teams to hopefully participate in the bid process. And we will advertise officially on September 24th. And that kicks off the bid process again with bids being due November 4th. So Mike and I will stay on the line for a few minutes here. If anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute your line and ask those, or if you would like to type those into the chat, feel free, and we'll do our best to answer those questions.
All right, so our first question we have is what is the expected duration, specifically for the vertical turbine pumps, to be under warranty from the date of substantial completion? How many years?
So the project warranty is a 1-year warranty. Certain specifications have warranty periods longer than those. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what the vertical turbine one is, but I do know the equipment specifications do call out what those, and it may be longer. For example, I believe the fabricated gates warranty is 5 years. So that's something that I can get you the answer to that here to know what that exact duration is.
Hey, Dave. Also, wanted to mention that the program is looking at changing the start of the warranty period to basically the end of the commissioning period, which is really about 6 months before the substantial completion date, because there is a big component of startup for the rest of the program assets outside of the water plant. So that'll really coincide with the commissioning of the plant.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good point, Matt. So I went through it real quickly when I had the schedule up there. But it's anticipated that the water treatment plant will be started up and commissioned earlier in 2025. And that's when that warranty period will start. SUNT, as the CMGC, has additional work with the transmission line beyond that. So our contract completion date for the whole project is until 2026, but the warranty start, as Matt said, would be at basically substantial completion of the water treatment plant itself.
All right, next question was, can a copy of the purchase agreement terms be provided ahead of 9/24 advertising date to provide additional time for review?
Our preference is to issue those documents as a complete bid package on the 24th. We do have a 6-week window for the bid period. So we feel that that was adequate time to go through those documents as well. If you have additional concern beyond that, please reach out to me after this meeting and maybe we can help accommodate that.
And then the next question is, how do we get invited to Smart Bid where the docs are? Basically by just providing your contact information in this meeting chat or emailing either myself or David with your contact information. We'll make sure you get entered into Smart Bid.
Yeah, and we've been working on this project quite a while and have done various cost estimates. And I think we've reached out to pretty much all the equipment representatives and the equipment manufacturers. So we already have a lot of your information in our smart bid system and in our contacts. So we're planning to reach out to everyone identified in the specifications so that we can get everyone included.
Yep. So but thank you. Please continue to add your contact information in the chat, and we'll get you ensure that you are in Smart Bid. Next item, can you detail timeline for bids, 150-day price escalation period, equipment delivery, and equipment startup? All right, so talking about the very first question there, Joe, the detailed timeline for bids. Documents will be advertised starting on September 24th with bids due November 4th. So it's exactly 6 weeks from the date of advertisement that bids will be due. The 150-day escalation period. So we're going to be asking everyone to hold their bids for 150 days. And what that allows us to do is because we have to assemble everyone's prices together into what we call a GMP or guaranteed maximum price document to the client. The client then needs to be able to review. We have negotiations that need to go back and forth. And then we also need to be able to execute contracts with you all in that hold period, 150 days. So in order to be able to, I guess kind of entice you all to be willing to hold your bids for 150 days, is we have language in the front ends and in all the bid documents that's the escalation basically from the time that you submit your bid plus 150 days, which I think for 150 days from November 4th was mid-April timeframe. That's based on a PPI. So going to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they issue out their PPI updates on a pretty much a monthly basis. So whatever the PPI for a relative index for what you're providing, we could be able to say, okay, from the point of bid to the point that we execute your contract, or 150 days, whichever is sooner, then let's say that PPI goes up by 11%. That is the triggering mechanism to allow for escalation. So at that point, we'd ask for you to be able to provide an updated bid, so we could be able to compare an updated bid and updated backup information from vendors, suppliers that you get material quotes from, that we could be able to do a side-by-side comparison on dollar values from the point of bid to that period 150 days out or time of execution. And that way we could be able to compare to see what the price difference is, and we could be able to then, upon justification, be able to execute a change order with you. I hope I explained that clear enough.
Yeah, if not, the description in the documents, I think, will provide a clear direction on how that will be handled.
Okay.
Right. So
the next item was equipment delivery. Not sure what you're meaning by equipment delivery. Detailed timeline, but in your bid, we're going to ask that you guys carry the shipping costs to the job site. And then obviously then we take it over from there once it delivers to the job site.
Yeah, one thing on this is, this is a somewhat of a lengthy job, and we're not gonna, it's not gonna be preferred to keep the equipment stored on site for lengthy periods of time. So we're gonna work with each of the vendors to try to coordinate the production and delivery of the equipment close to when the equipment will be installed. So that's how we're gonna try to handle the equipment delivery storage.
And then next, equipment startup. The specs are pretty clear of, what's required from each of the vendors regarding training, regarding MCOPO, MCOPIs. So, basically, your standard startup of providing those two certificates is really where your startup period would go through. SmartBid has had some issues on past projects. Is there a way to do a dry run submittal on this system so that bids are accurate and timely?
So
Go ahead.
I think what you're asking here is on how the bids are going to be submitted. I think we recognize some of the challenges with submitting a bid through a system like this. So our instructions detail how to submit the bid, and we have a separate email address set up, and you will submit your bid directly to that email. So we don't anticipate any issues with, that smart bid may present by submitting your bid through there.
Yep. All right, great questions. Anybody else?
Okay, well, we thank you for your time today. I know we had this scheduled for an hour and a half. Ran through a few things somewhat quickly, but again, just want to put the information out there. So we'll give you guys back a half hour of your time. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us and look for that advertisement from us either through the DJC or through SmartBid on September 24th. Thank
Hey,
you.
Dave.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris Briggs, Reiner Pumped here. I've got a few more questions, but I definitely don't need to take up everybody's time with it. So everybody, if you want to handle this offline or if you want to stay on a little bit longer, I'd love to go over just a couple of quick details.
Yeah, feel free to, maybe we handle this separately. And then, of course, if anything impacts the documents, they'll be included in the bid instructions so that everyone has the information.
Fantastic. Yeah, I've got my phone number and email address there. Can you contact me later this afternoon, or what are we looking at?
Yep, this afternoon.
Perfect.
All right.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.